Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever may be. We'll give you a quick rundown on what's on tonight's The Clown Hour podcast. We're going to get into some NFL talk, the playoff scenarios, which teams could clinch, which teams control their own destiny, which would be a lot of fun. We're also going to get into some Dwayne Haskins talk. Dude has been fired by the Washington football team. Does he have a future in the NFL? We'll see. We'll talk about that. And last but not least, we'll preview the college football playoff semifinals this weekend. Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Notre Dame. What you got? Also, one last thing, get the merch in the description. So until then, let's get it. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whoever may be. I'm Scott Burks, and welcome to the Clown Hour video podcast. It's my man, Dwayne Nash. Please check him out on the yard/HBCU Sports. Reps about all things HBCU Sports, as well as Sleazy Radio every Tuesday night on Facebook Live. Check out his work on herosports.com, where he reps about FCS sports and pertains to HBCUs. As for me, please check my sports blog out, The Klown Times, the Klown Sport Vacator, www.theklowntimes.net. You can also check me out on Facebook. Just do a search for The Klown Times there. I'm at the Fool. Everybody else there is at the Fool. And also, one more thing, don't forget the merch.
Get the merch.
Get the merch. Go to cafepress.com, search for The Klown Times Sports. That's no spaces, no dashes. Just do a search for it. You get there, get hats, sweatshirts, T-shirts, purses, believe it or not. I'll look out for the ladies. Bibs. I'm not the sports version of Online Hustle Man. So anyway, go get the merch on Cafe Press Sports, cafepress.com rather. And you see the description. You see the link in the description and beneath this video. And please subscribe. Please subscribe. I really appreciate that. Okay, so we'll get into it, man. We got NFL. We got some playoff scenarios, lots of scenarios. I got it pulled up right here somewhere. So here we go in the AFC. We're going to start there first, bro.
All right.
We're going to do the of courses first. The Buffalo Bills clinch the AFC East. The Kansas City Chiefs, remember I always said, they're the best team in the NFL, even when the Steelers started on 11-0. I knew the deal. You knew the deal. Everyone else knew the deal. And of course, they got the first round bye because they clinched home field advantage with the best record in the AFC. My Steelers, by the skin of their teeth and their hairs and their chinny chin clinched the AFC North. God damn, I was so mad at the first 3 quarters. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? You gonna let Phillip Rivers come in your house and do that to you? But anyway, they corrected the 3-quarter wrong, the 3 games and 3-quarter wrongs, I should say, and made it right with the AFC North Division title. So that leaves us with the following: the Baltimore Ravens, the Miami Dolphins, the Cleveland Browns, and the Indianapolis Colts vying for the last,
Actually, the last 3 spots.
Well,
technically 4 if you want to include the
Tennessee Titans,
the South Championship. Yes.
Right. With Tennessee Titans, Tennessee has they control their own destiny. Maybe that's why I didn't think about them. But we'll start with the Ravens, which should be hell of exciting, man. Come Sunday, Baltimore wins, they're in.
Yeah,
simple as that. They control their own destiny. I'm not going to go into other crazy crap that they lose, but just know if Baltimore wins at Cincinnati, which they should by a lot this coming Sunday, they're in, which is amazing considering that at one point they were 6-5.
Yeah.
So because remember when I said in the podcast before, previous podcast, once they beat the Browns, I'm like, that was a hard game.
Yeah.
Look at the rest of the schedule, easy as pie. They've taken advantage of it. I hate to say as a Steelers fan, but good for them. And Lamar Jackson and company, I respect the organization, can stand the team, but that's neither here nor there. Now the Cleveland Browns, all they have to do against my team this coming Sunday, which will be resting Big Ben Roethlisberger and maybe a few others, they have a good chance to win at home against the Steelers. So guess what? If Cleveland wins, they're also in. Okay?
Yes.
So Baltimore and Cleveland at the moment control their own destiny. So let's move on to the Indianapolis Colts. Well, actually, let's skip Indianapolis. I'll get to them last. Miami Dolphins, another team that controls their own destiny. Unfortunately, they're playing at Buffalo, but Buffalo may rest some of the starters. They may rest Josh Allen because they've clinched they clinched the division, yes, but more than likely they'll probably get the 2 seed. And I know that says only the top seed gets a bye. It doesn't really matter as far as the others, like how they're seeded. They just happen to be in and win in their division, right, and play their home game. So they may rest Josh Allen. I hadn't heard if they will or not, but if they do, Miami has a good shot at winning. So if Miami wins, they're in.
Yeah.
Which leads us to the Indianapolis Colts. That choke job they had against my Steelers this past Sunday put them in the bind. So thankfully for them, fortunately for them, I should say, they play host to the Jaguars, 1-14 Jacksonville. But that one win came against Indianapolis to start the season. We all remember that. But I think they'll make quick work of Jacksonville this time around since they'll be playing them at home. So they win. They have to hope and pray for a Tennessee loss or tie at Houston, which probably will not happen, considering that Tennessee has a lot to play for as well. So here's how it's probably going to really end up shaping out for Indianapolis. They have to win and hope and pray that Baltimore, Cleveland, Miami are the losers or ties.
Yeah.
That's what it boils down to. So you can tell that loss in Pittsburgh this past weekend was huge.
Very much so.
It was huge because not only with Tennessee losing, getting the asses kicked in Green Bay, but remember Tennessee has the tiebreak over Indianapolis. So that put Indianapolis in a huge bind. So given what all this guy said, what are your thoughts? Like, how do you see this playing out? I basically think that we'll have, at the end of the day, I think that Baltimore, Cleveland, and Miami will win out.
Okay.
And I think those will be your 3 wildcard teams. I think Tennessee will beat the hell out of Houston on the road to win the AFC South. So what say you? What are your predictions on the AFC playoff race?
Well, I agree with 66%.
Oh,
that
66.
That prediction. 66, 67, depending upon how you went. Well, 66.6 will technically be rounded up 66.7. Well, 67%, right? It's that last third that I'm kind of wavering on, and this is why.
Okay.
Both Buffalo and Pittsburgh, like you said earlier, are bidding for that number 2 for that number 2 seed, right?
Yeah.
Because of course they get that extra home game,
right?
Leading up to a potential matchup to the number 1 seed. With that said, Baltimore will need to at least tie, if not have a better record than the Pittsburgh Steelers in order for that to happen. Not Baltimore, I'm sorry, Buffalo.
Buffalo, yeah.
Yeah, Buffalo would need to have either the same record or a better record in order for them to continue to have the 2 seed. Correct. Because, of course, of that head-to-head matchup that they had a couple of weeks ago where Buffalo mollywopped them.
Yes, they did.
And like you said, Indianapolis, yes, they did drop that bag, being up 24-3 going into the fourth quarter, well, late into the third quarter before Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers were capable of turning that game around and pulling it out, right?
Correct.
So like I said, Buffalo at least needs a win. They can't have a worse record than Pittsburgh going ending this weekend, which kind of sad for Miami. I'm still shaking my head on how Miami was capable of stealing that win from Las Vegas, especially after that
That
pass.
was crazy. That was crazy.
Dude, I turned the game off.
Crazy.
I turned it off. Because, I saw that drive that the Raiders had where they decided to kneel, and I still scratching my head on that. Dude, get the touchdown.
Right.
Get the touchdown. What are you thinking? But,
they doubled down on that, by the way. Coach Gruden doubled down on that, but go ahead, which is stupid.
Yeah, that's Gruden being Gruden, right?
Right.
So, it is what it is. But I digress. I'm not talking about teams that don't have an opportunity to make the playoffs. I'm talking about those that do. So, to your point, to my point, Buffalo needs to beat Miami in order for them to hold on to the 2 spot and continue to get that extra home game. So I think they go ahead and play their players until that game gets out of hand, if it gets out of hand, but I doubt that very seriously because the Dolphins are not going to lay down.
Right.
They're not. And of course, they need to win in order for them to get the playoff spot. I do believe, though, that Buffalo will win that game. If they do so, they knock out Miami. That means Indianapolis will need to beat Jacksonville, which they should.
They should.
And
They
if that
should.
happens, then that combination of Baltimore, Cleveland, and Indianapolis will make the playoffs. I don't know how that seeding will work based upon the wins or the situations. But that to me will be the three teams that make it in behind, or along with Tennessee as well. But I don't know exactly how that seeding will work out. My guess is that Tennessee still holds they have the win division percentage over Indianapolis. So that's how they get in as the divisional winner if they have the same record. So yeah, if all those teams win, that's who's getting in. Like I said before, I just don't know how that's 5, 6, and 7 seeding will work out after that. But those are the three that I got.
I think this is how it's going to go down because the way it's up right now, I'm on ESPN.com. I'm looking at the playoff machine. Just say for the sake of argument, say if Miami, Baltimore, Cleveland all win, right? And Tennessee does what they're supposed to do and beat the hell out of Houston. The series will be like this. Miami will get the 5th seed because Miami has the better conference record than Baltimore and Cleveland. Yeah. And so Baltimore gets the 6th seed ahead of Cleveland because Baltimore swept Cleveland.
That's right.
So it'll be the matchups will be Miami at Tennessee, Baltimore at Pittsburgh, will be brutal, and Cleveland at Buffalo. Now, the reason, I see what you're saying about Buffalo. Like I said, I hadn't heard if Buffalo will rest any of their starters. If they don't, if they want to go out with a bang, they'll beat Miami straight up. Yeah. They'll beat Miami. So in that instance, I think the cities are going to move up. So the teams are going to move a season. So meaning Baltimore will get the 5th seed, Cleveland will get the 6th seed, and Indianapolis will get the 7th seed because Baltimore and Cleveland both beat Indianapolis during this season. So they'll knock them down. And like I said before, Baltimore swept Cleveland, which is why Baltimore will get the higher seed of those 3 squads. Yeah. So you'll be looking at a first round matchup, which will be hella interesting. Baltimore at Tennessee. Both those teams, they don't play in the same division, but they can't stand each other.
No, they can't.
They can't stand each other because Tennessee beat them last year in the playoffs, remember? They smacked them. And Tennessee rallied against them this year and talked shit on the way out the door. So I'm interested in seeing that going down in Tennessee. This is an old school AFC Central matchup. So,
yeah. This has early 2000 vibes, late 99, the late 90s, early 2000 vibes to this with Ray Lewis and Eddie George and Steve McNair. It has heavy vibes of very reminiscent of those games back then.
And that's when football in the AFC within Central was real. Football was real. It was real. But basically you go from there, and then you have Cleveland coming to Pittsburgh, which would be interesting, and followed by Indianapolis at Buffalo. So those would be 3 juicy-ass matchups, right? Yeah. The first 2 I mentioned would be like grudge matches, if you will. So those would be interesting. So, yeah, I get what you're saying about Buffalo, brother, even though only the top seed would have the bye. But I think – hell, I think it's something to be said about getting a higher seed. Now, Pittsburgh, they're like, fuck it. All our guys are hurting because we got fucked around with the COVID situation. We missed our bye. So we had to take our bye way early because Tennessee couldn't get their shit together. We had to wait several days because Baltimore had to get their shit together when they're supposed to play on Thanksgiving night. Instead, they had to play 3 games in 12 days. So, I mean, not coincidentally, they end up playing their worst football during
that same time frame.
So I don't think that's a coincidence. But the point is, you got to play the games. It is what it is. You got to man up, right? So thankfully, they weathered that storm. They're in. They won the AFC North. They got a home playoff game. I don't know if they'll be playing in front of anybody. I know Buffalo got the okay from Governor Cuomo that they can play in front of fans. So maybe 6,000 fans at the most. I think that's the cap.
Okay.
But still, that's huge because that's Buffalo's first home game, I think, in over 20 years.
Yeah, it is.
Which is interesting. So Yeah, if Buffalo does, if the Bills do not rest any of their starters, they're killing Miami. They'll beat Miami by double digits, and it'll be a nice story for the Dolphins. But they'll fall short because I don't see Indianapolis losing to Jacksonville. I do not see Baltimore losing in Cincinnati. Cincinnati has a fight. I would know that, but Baltimore is a lot better than Cincinnati to be playing with with the playoff ball on the line. They win, they're in. I think not only think they beat down Cincinnati, I think they'll murder them. I think they'll murder Cincinnati Sunday. We're resting Big Ben. We're playing that scrub Mason Rudolph at the scene of the crime where he lost all his confidence in his helmet. So I think if Cleveland shows up and gives a damn, like maybe like if they get their players back from COVID, such as Jarvis Landry and company, they should beat Pittsburgh. If they don't get those players back, and if Nick Chubb and the other running back, forget his name, Kareem Hunt, they don't get on track, it'll be interesting. But I think Cleveland pull it out, and the strength of Big Ben not starting, and probably other starters not playing. So I think it'll be almost a walkover for Cleveland. I don't think by the time this team will lay down, they'll play the asses off. But I think Cleveland should win. So, and like I said, I think Indianapolis should destroy Jacksonville. I think Tennessee should beat the dog piss out of Houston on the road. So I think it'll be Tennessee be the 4th seed, winning the AFC South, and it'll be Baltimore the 5th seed, Cleveland the 6th seed, Indianapolis the 7th seed. So I think you talked to me. This is one of the few times you told me into a different pick. So thinking about it, but that's contingent again. That's contingent if Buffalo does not rest their starters.
Yeah,
they should. They'll have no problem with Miami.
And so I have to ask you this. This has been something that's been a running thing on our show over at Sleazy for the past couple of weeks, especially with Coach being a Dolphins fan. Yes. At what point in the game Sunday do you believe, it doesn't have to be necessarily a time, it could be a situation. Do you believe that that Flores and the Dolphins will put in Ryan Fitzpatrick and replace Tua? Because that was something that I thought was extremely interesting, being that game was very close, but yet they didn't trust Tua for that final drive. They actually put in Fitzpatrick for that.
Yeah. You know what? They cornered themselves on that. They cornered themselves when they got cute and put Tua in after the bye week. So they got to ride with him because the last thing they need is to fuck up this kid's confidence. Now, thankfully, Ryan Fitzpatrick, he's a good dude. He's not gonna overstep him. He's not gonna sabotage him. Teammates love him. Wherever he's gone, they love him. He's been a helpful mentor to the kid. He's been like a big brother to him. So I think Flores will have no choice but to stick with Tua because they made the move. They cornered themselves, right? And even though I think the players, if you inject some truth serum, would prefer Fitzpatrick. Even though he's bounced around the league, he's been there and done that.
Yeah.
And he can play. He's not a scrub. He can play. He's very capable. He has some stinkers, but he can play too. It's like the 50-50 moment. You know which fit you're going to get. But I think if the Miami to look forward, they made a decision to go to Tua looking forward.
Yeah.
They should stick with this kid. Because again, if they bitch him right now with a player spot on the line, that's going to ruin his confidence. Now, I think the way Tua has handled this, I think he's handled it pretty well because he's been benched in games throughout the stretch where Ryan Fitzpatrick came to save the day, right? So, I guess Tua gets it that if he doesn't play well, Mass is going out. And remember, Flores is a disciple of who else? Bill Belichick. Yeah. He plays who produces. If you don't produce, you ain't going to play. So that's his mantra. I think Tua, understands that, and it is what it is. But the young man has to perform. So I think, which is why I said I think they will, and they should go with Tua, go into this game to give the kid, not to ruin his confidence going forward, but let him know, we got a playoff spot on the line. You can't fuck this up. Remember we said early in the season after they won in Arizona that the NFL is coming easy to him?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Time comes at him fast, right? Life comes at you fast, rather. It came at this young man very fast. So this ain't the SEC, brother.
Yeah, I don't know why he said that. He has to understand that the NFL is always listening. They're always listening. And if anything, the media will make sure that the league is always listening. Because if something is said to the media, they'll make sure that everyone else knows.
Oh, hell yeah. Bulletin board material. That's the two words that
always.
Bulletin board material. So, so I agree with that. I think we share a brain for the most part on the AFC. So we're going to move on to the NFC right quick. Where things are interesting and a little bit murky at the bottom. So let's go through the obvious, right? The Green Bay Packers clinch the NFC North. They got the inside track on the top seed. The New Orleans Saints clinch the NFC South. The Seattle Seahawks clinch the NFC West. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Tampa Bay with Tom Brady, clinch a playoff for the first time in, I think, 15, 16, 17 years?
I think it was 13 years.
13 years. Okay, 13 years. It's a long ass time. It's over a decade.
It's a long time, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that leaves us with the following several teams for only for the last three spots. So we're going to get to them. Arizona Cardinals. They play at the Rams, and who will be without Jared Goff, which would be huge. So basically, Arizona controls its own destiny. They win, they're in. It's as simple as that. Next, we go to the Chicago Bears. Can you believe these Chicago Bears are sitting at 8-7?
Dude,
can you believe that shit?
I don't believe it either. I don't. Remember, they had that quick start, and they were like maybe 5-1.
5-1, correct.
If memory serves me correct. And then they went on that streak of like losing 5 straight, and everybody said, "Uh-oh."
Yeah.
This Bears team, they're starting to be who a lot of people assumed that they were. And all of a sudden, they had a very thin patch in their schedule, and they won the games that they needed to win.
Exactly.
That's all you can do, right?
And good
Good for them. I'm not mad at them for doing that. So that's what got them to an 8-7 record. And hey, we're here where all they have to do is win this game, and they're in the playoffs. Now they'll end up having to face the likelihood, either the Saints or the Seahawks. But hey, it is what it is, right? As long as you're in, you go ahead and compete and try to get you a dub while you're in there.
And to piggyback what you just said, Chicago controls its own destiny. If they find a way to beat the Packers at home, they're in. I think it's unlikely because Green Bay is playing for a top seed. So which means they're not going to be resting Aaron Rodgers. They're not going to be resting Devontae Adams. They're not going to be resting Aaron Jones. And the defense got Snacks Harrison from Seattle. So, it's been real Chicago. But at any rate, if Chicago were to win somehow, they'll be in. So both Arizona and Chicago control their own playoff destinies. Now let's get to the Rams. Same thing with the Rams. I'm surprised that NBC did not make this the primetime game, because this game against Arizona with the Rams, this is a winner take all. Whoever wins this game gets in, and the loser has to hope and pray of a whole lot of shit happening, right? Namely Chicago losing or whoever, right?
Yeah.
So I'm surprised that they didn't make Arizona at the Rams the primetime game, but that's not here nor there. But
I have 2 words for you on why they didn't do that.
What's up?
Division championship, which is why Washington is and Philly was placed there.
Right.
As good or as ugly as that game could potentially be,
it's going to be ugly.
It's still for a division title, and the fate of that division lies within that game. whoever really cares about the NFC East will be linked to that game heavily, me included, to see who actually wins. So,
correction, the NFC least.
I guess. I guess the reason why I say that, because of the teams that they can potentially face, right? As strong offensively as the Tampa Bay Bucks can be, you have an immobile quarterback in Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Facing that front four could be problematic. Same thing with the Rams and Jared Goff. The same thing. Well, I doubt very seriously that the Bears, in fact, the Bears are not moving up. No, so yeah, if anything, yeah, it's either going to be the Bucks or the Rams in that situation. And with that said, you got two statuesque QBs back there, and you can just go ahead and potentially rush 4, maybe even 5 against that O-line, and they play the pass very well. If they can get Alex Smith. I'm not necessarily completely sold on Taylor Heineke just yet. Even though I did hear his head coach praise him yesterday on local radio, which made me almost want to run through a brick wall for Taylor. I'm sorry. I'm not keep calling him Tyler. His name is Taylor. Made me want to run through a brick wall for Taylor, because it got me so amped listening to how positive he believes that Taylor could be playing against Philadelphia, saying how well of a passer and runner that he is. So it's going to be very interesting to see whether or not this dude will look good against Philadelphia. I just don't know if I trust this dude in a playoff game yet or not. So my hope is that Alex at least comes back if they're capable of winning Sunday night.
All right, so here's the deal then. Get into this. Dallas playing the Giants the early game.
Yeah.
Obviously, whoever wins that game will hope and pray that Washington loses their later game. So Let me just tell you how everything's going to shape out. No one is going to be resting anybody as far as the top 3 teams, because Green Bay, Seattle, and New Orleans are playing for the top overall seed in the NFC. So this is going to be hella cool to watch. So with that said, I got Green Bay beating Chicago.
True. I got that too.
I know the Rams won't have Jared Goff.
Jared Goff or Cooper Kupp as well.
Oh God. Well, shit. Arizona might end up winning this. So yeah. So I got Arizona beating the Rams in that case, and I would have said that Green Bay would beat Chicago.
Yeah.
I think, God, I want the Giants to beat the Cowboys so bad, but I don't see it happening. I got Dallas winning at the Giants. This pisses me off. Damn, Washington, you should have done what you're supposed to do. We didn't have to worry about Dallas. But anyway, I'll get to them later.
You know that, right?
Yeah, I know that, right? I got New Orleans winning Carolina. They'll get the I think the 2 seed. And let me see. Yeah, they'll get the 2 seed. I got Seattle winning against the 49ers, so they'll have the 3 seed. So the top 3 seeds will be Green Bay, New Orleans, and Seattle, right? And of course, Tampa Bay already clinched, so they're chilling. They can't be no worse than 5th. So they'll be the 5th seed. As far as the rest of them, like I said, since the Rams, they'll both be 9-7 with the Cardinals. So I know Arizona would be in with a win, and LA would be in because I think Chicago will lose to Green Bay. So it'll be Arizona, Chicago will be the last 2 wild cards, if you will, and the division winner. God, I don't want to say Dallas. I really don't want to say Dallas, but I don't know about y'all's quarterback situation.
I don't either.
I really don't. If Alex Smith plays, I'm well with Washington. But assuming he doesn't play, it's going to piss me off. I got to hear from insufferable delusional Cowboys fans like Skip Bayless and some guys I went to college with. That's going to win the East. That's going to win the East. So here's why I think here's why I see the matchups. I see LA at New Orleans, LA being the 7th seed. I got Arizona at Seattle, Arizona be the 6th seed. And of course, I got Tampa at Dallas. So that's how I see things.
Again, we're at 66.7% of agreement.
Uh-oh.
Where we're again that NFC East is going to be interesting. Both games, really.
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't know whether or not Daniel Jones is going to be playing that game. If he is, it's going to make that game that much more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Dallas's offense is starting to click more with Andy Dalton back playing quarterback, and he's been hitting his receivers. And the one player who I was really concerned about, Ezekiel Elliott, is starting to come on now. Mm-hmm. The thing is, that Cowboys defense is still that Cowboys defense, and that's why I said, if they're capable of getting Daniel Jones back, operating that offense, opening it up for Gallman and Alfred Morris, it'll make that game that much more interesting. I really want that game to end in a tie because I really don't want either team to win. I really despise both. But if I had to pick, which I ended up having to do yesterday, I'll take the Giants over Dallas. And I am concerned about this Philadelphia Eagles game as a Washington football team fan. The thing, though, that kind of eases my mind a little bit is that Fletcher Cox will not be playing on Sunday. So that kind of loosens up their defense a little bit. I still don't want to see Javon Hargrave up front. God knows I don't. Oh, no, I swear, dude. I thought I'd get rid of that
South Carolina
dude.
State in the house.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yep.
I thought I got rid of that dude when he left South Carolina State, man. But no, now I got to see him twice a year again. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the starting quarterback situation, right? As favorable as everyone is on Alex Smith, Alex Smith has also been struggling in the first half as a starting QB. The thing that I think that will be interesting is if it is Taylor Heineke, if he comes in and he's capable of getting his offense off to a good start in the first half. If he's capable of doing that, because you got to remember, he knows what's your boy's name? He's the son of God, what is his name? Used to be with Dallas. Used to be the head coach in Washington. North Turner. He's North Turner's son. Okay. Scott Turner. Heineke, and according to Heineke's old coach, Scott Turner actually came to Old Dominion to sit down, talk with, and scout Heineke as a player. So he's extremely familiar with him.
Yeah, he's with the Panthers.
And of course, Heineke spent some time in Carolina with him as well. Mm-hmm. So Heineke is very familiar with Scott Turner and his offense. Mm-hmm. And the thing is how comfortable he'll be playing within that offense as a starter in a situation where they need to win this game in order to advance to the playoffs. So, like I said, if they're able to get off to a fast start, watch out. Yeah. Because if that Washington defense is playing from ahead and all they have to do is just rush the QB, even though Jalen Hurts is a scrambling QB, it's going to be very interesting to see what he'll end up doing.
Is tough.
Facing that front
four is tough.
Yeah,
the front seven too.
That front seven is very tough, which leads to that back four playing well.
Yeah.
See, the rookie corner, the rookie safety in Cope, who's been playing extremely well over the last few weeks, replacing one. What is his name? So it's so bad I can't even remember who he replaced. Landon Collins. I'm sorry. Yeah. It'll be very intriguing to see what happens if he's capable of, like I said before, and I hate to reiterate myself, but I just want to make sure I drive this point home. If Heineke is capable of getting this team to lead at the end of the first half, it's going to be very interesting because they're going to release that front four, that front five to blitz Jalen Hurts and force him to make decisions he probably don't want to make.
Speaking of Washington, that's an interesting segue. Dwayne Haskins, the recently fired Dwayne Haskins. We all know what he did. I think we all agree. This has two layers. We'll get to the second layer in a moment. I think we know what that second layer might be. But we all know that Dwayne Haskins did this to himself, right? He didn't prepare. He didn't look all that much in shape at all. he'd rather spend time in the strip club than learn his playbook and preparing. But I'm sounding like an old man because I am. But anyway, but if you're a quarterback, you got to be that dude. You can't be late. You got to be at the facilities. And for all I've read over the past couple of years, he hasn't been that dude. Now, I would also say that it's the result of, once again, Danny Boy Snyder interfering with the football people, claiming that he wants quarterbacks that the people really did not want. Remember who he called Bob Griffin, right? Robert Griffin III. As much as Shanahan liked him, he didn't like him enough to trade away those picks to get him. He didn't like him that much. But Danny Boy liked him. He wanted him. He thought he was a football guy. Well, he's a businessman, should stay the fuck out the way, which I'm sure all your fans would agree with. But, of course, we all know what happened, right? He had one great year, and it all went to hell for them. Go ahead.
I'll say this real quick about that pick. If Shanahan would have selected the guy that he wanted to select, it would have been very interesting because that was the guy that I wanted him to get. And they probably would have gotten him in the third round. And that is one Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
So to have a scrambling quarterback playing in that Shanahan offense where they allow the QB to come out of the pocket and make decisions from there. We know how Russell likes to play that type of way. It would have been interesting. And the reason why I say it would have been interesting is because I don't know whether or not he would have succeeded in DC or not. Somehow DC football over the past 20 years since Daniel Snyder has been an owner here has become a huge black hole. Right. And a lot of times, yes, a lot of guys that are brought in way past their prime, but there are other guys who come in and are talented, eventually end up getting sucked in to some point. And I don't know if necessarily he would have completely succeeded here. I would have hoped it would have been the case, but that's a whole other conversation for another time. But yeah, to your point, Dwayne Haskins, it's very funny that you said that he needed to study more. I don't know necessarily if you're familiar with one Tony Perkins. Tony Perkins is well known here in the DC area, but he actually spent a couple of years on Good Morning America during the late 80s, early 90s. Tony Perkins and one Donnie Simpson, who I know you know that name.
Yes, I do.
BET fame.
Of course. Yes.
They're real close. They used to do a lot of radio together back in the 80s before Tony went on the TV. Now he's back doing both TV and radio here locally. And he and Donnie are back at it again, doing radio again.
Cool.
And on Donnie's show recently, right before Dwayne was actually cut, he said something very similar to what you said, but a little bit more clever. He said that Dwayne needs to stop studying asses and start studying passes.
Nice.
Man.
Line of the year right there. Cool.
Oh, man. Hilarious. But yes, to your point, it's a combination of an embarrassment of riches of embarrassment, if you will, where you had the suggestion of the owner's son leading to the selection of Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah, that's
Dwayne Haskins, unfortunately, only having 1 year of college ball under his belt at Ohio State. But you would think with him being capable of beating out the guys that he beat out, who now have good playing experience in the NFL right now, you would think that he would be able to amount to something, right? But that's unfortunately not the case. Apparently, Scott Turner has tried to get him to play his offense. Of course, John Gruden, he didn't want him. So that didn't necessarily work out. So that led to John Gruden being fired. Scott Turner also tried to play a little bit of Ohio State offense. That didn't work. So his inability to study, his inability to make plays, to hit the open man, to
simple shit,
to simple stuff, right? So that was the thing that bothered me so much. And I've said it on this show several times, that the small things are the things that he really needed to clean up on. And like, I didn't mind him doing what he did off the field, right?
Sure.
I mean, outside of being guilty in the court of public opinion, it doesn't look good, but he's doing what young people do, even though I'm not necessarily excusing it, because of course, you do what young people do, you still face the ramifications.
Right.
It is what it is.
Right.
But he's not doing something that no one else isn't doing, right? And with that said, you can get by messing up off the field if you're playing well on the field.
Thank you.
And he wasn't doing the latter. And when you're doing that
Mhm.
and you're doing stuff off the field, which can affect not only the team, but the entire league as a whole. Yeah, bro. That's just bad decision making all around, and you have to go. I'm sorry. I want him to do well. I really do. Like I said before, he's a local kid. I'm always rooting for the DMV kids to do well in anything that they do. Hopefully this dude is capable of rebounding. But it was asked of me earlier this week, do I look at him as being a top 5 bust? I don't think so.
Not yet. He's too young.
Well, one, he's too young, right? It's only been 2 years.
Right.
But in order for me to look at him as a top 5 bust, he has to be at least a top 10 pick, right? Because we have so many other guys coming in the top 5 that have been bust before him. Achilles Smith, Jamarcus Russell, Brian Leaf, Heath Schuler. There's just so many other guys. He's not in my top 5. Tom Marinovich. There's so many other guys ahead of him in that situation. I look at him as more of like an Tim Manuel. Tim Couch is another one.
Yeah.
I look at him as being more like a Johnny Manziel, like I said before on the show, EJ Manuel or a Christian Ponder. He has the ability to potentially rebound if he can get in a situation, potentially go somewhere, sit on the bench and develop that way, or maybe even go to the XFL whenever they return, ball out there, maybe potentially for the DC Defenders. How ironic would that be? Show that he can play on that level, go someplace else, learn that way, and then get back into the league. Hopefully that'll be a way for him to extend his career. But, right now, it's just not looking good. He knows how to say all the right things, but he keeps doing all the wrong
things.
And that's the problem.
And what to make that worse, look, I used to love strip clubs as much as the next dude. Trust me. But you got a coach who's fighting cancer, who's very susceptible to COVID. Your ass goes out not once but twice, maskless. And putting everyone at risk of the building. And plus, him being the only healthy quarterback that's worth a damn on that roster at that moment, everyone's looking at him sideways because that's a huge distraction. And you got back-to-back do-or-die games against Seattle and Carolina. They couldn't ball against Carolina. They can't rush the passer. They can't cover me or you. But he played bad against that squad. That's where he knew he had to go. That's where he knew he had to go. He just, excuse me. I mean, if the thing is if he can't get together there, because that should have been a win. They should have beaten Carolina. They have no business. They not only lost them, they got smacked by them. Carolina outplayed them.
They did. And they were capable of bringing it down within 7 with Heineke's touchdown late in the fourth quarter.
Correct.
But I would say this. They should have ran the ball a little bit more. Antonio Gibson, who was back after being out with a high ankle sprain for a little bit. Actually, no, he did with turf toe. I'm sorry. Returning from the turf toe after being out for a couple of weeks, he was rushing at 7.1 a pop. But unfortunately, with you being down, but with you being down 17, it kind of affects the play calling. And then when you can't hit wide open receivers, that becomes problematic too. So, once again, a winnable game, but it's not all on Dwayne. Dwayne didn't fumble the punt that led to a touchdown,
right?
Or a fumble recovery from special teams,
correct.
But he still turned the ball over 3 times,
right?
And when you down 0-3 like that, even though the defense was capable of forcing a turnover to themselves, when you're already down 0-3 in turnovers, it's hard to win games that way. It is.
Right. It is. And so that's unfortunate because, again, they had the Seattle game in their palms. As badly as they played, they had a Seattle game in their palms. They didn't take that home. That's okay. This is Seattle. I get it. But against a team in Carolina, again, can't rush the passer, can't cover me nor you as far as the secondary. And they got that nasty front 7 that could seemingly could get after Teddy Bridgewater. I think the whole team was just like in a funk because of that kid.
That very well could be the case.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that you say that, right? Because leading up into that game, Of course, it comes out about him being out. And then it comes out with the potential fine that he could be facing, whether or not he was going to be able to play or not, because he was going to have to be able to pass testing. And they were still waiting on those results. And then, it was just the whole situation of, should he really be there, right?
Right.
And if it wasn't for the fact that all you had was Heineke and the other guy that's backing him up, I don't even know who that dude is, which is bad. But when you're left to Dwayne Haskins, Taylor Heineke, that's a virtual unknown to the rest of the organization, and then once again, whoever that third string guy was, with the huge possibility that Alex Smith would not play. It was like Coach Rivera kind of sold his soul to the devil in that situation.
You're gonna have
because
to.
what he wanted to win.
Yep.
And I don't
He
blame
had
him.
no choice. He didn't have a choice.
He didn't have a choice. And he thought his best chance to win in that situation was with a guy that prior to that game had about 12, 13 starts, which I thought too, right? But unfortunately, he went in and played worse. And dude, he's been given so many opportunities. He went from being the team captain to being the starter to being benched to being made the third string.
Go ahead.
To coming back from third string to starter again, thanks to injuries.
Yeah.
And you're giving a new lease on life. And dude, all you have to do, even if not play well, but even if not win, play well so that you have good tape for other team to look at. You couldn't even do that, dude. The opportunity was back in your lap again. And then you mess up off the field. And this is so much stuff, man. I said this last week. The opportunity was his for the taking. And he took it and squatted on top of it.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't nothing. Like he's just going to get these at any moment. Dude, that's not how this works.
Right.
That's not how this works,
That's not
man.
how any of this works, yes.
And he already knows right now because, he hasn't been picked up by anyone, even though they're saying that there are teams that are interested.
Correct.
He still hasn't been picked up yet. So it'll be interesting to see exactly how this saga, this chapter of this saga ends. But as far as it looks like right now, I think it ends without him being on the roster at the end of the season.
And that's sad. So let me ask you this. I think he has a future. I don't think he's out of the NFL just yet.
Not yet, no.
He's too young. He's too talented. I think his best bet is his backup, obviously.
Yeah.
Hopefully he'll be at a stable organization.
Yeah.
I've heard teams bandied about like my Steelers, the Seahawks, the Rams. We have a quarterback whisperer in Sean McVay. I don't know, maybe New Orleans, who the hell knows? But the point is, he needs to go somewhere stable, where the head coaches and the offensive personnel, as far as the coaching staff, aren't bullshitters.
Yeah.
It means they'll really hold his ass accountable, because that's what he needs right now. He just needs to get the hell out of this DC area, because that's home. He needs to get away from home, have a reboot, do the right things, prepare, because he's on his way out. He's on that trek of being out.
Yeah.
He needs to humble himself. To your point, he's been saying the right things. He just needs to apply himself.
Yeah.
Get his ass in shape. He looks out of shape. Get back in shape. Prepare himself, because that money's going to run out. And if he likes to go to the strip club as much as he likes to, he needs that money. He can't make it rain out of the league.
I'll say this. There's a video floating around on YouTube that talks about how he spent his first $1 million. And
oh God, I'm afraid.
Yeah, right. And if you look at it, like a quarter of that was spent on a car.
Oh my.
So on a car. So yeah. Like I said, I really hope the best for this dude. I do. But I just need him to make better decisions.
Which leads me to the second layer. I think you know where I'm going.
Yeah.
This past Monday night, a gentleman named Booger McFarland, who I like personally, I like him a lot, said that, and I'm paraphrasing. If you have the direct quote, just let me know. But basically, he said he lamented over the fact, in the wake of the way Dwayne Haskins being fired, that he said it's not selfish, that a lot of these Black athletes are more concerned about the brand, about the gram, than they are about their craft. That's just what he said in a nutshell. So if I misinterpret that, I apologize in advance, y'all. But that's how I took it. That's how I interpreted it. But Randy, the ironic thing was Randy Moss was sitting on the set, nodding his head in agreement, and we all know what Randy Moss did on the field and off the field. But the point is, yeah, exactly. I play when I want to play. Remember that quote? But anyway, but I love Randy Moss.
Straight cash homie, right?
Straight cash homie. There you go. But shout out to Randy Moss. I like him a lot. I like what he's doing on TV. I was a fan of his as a player as well. But look, I understood where Booger was going, and he didn't say all. I think he meant to not say all. I hope, because that's a dangerous assertion of labeling Black athletes essentially as selfish knuckleheads concerned about their brand. You have guys like Tom Brady who has a brand. Albeit he won, but he has a brand. Like what's his name in Green Bay? Aaron Rodgers has.
Aaron Rodgers has a brand. Yeah.
These successful quarterbacks, white quarterbacks, they have brands. Excuse me, Martellus Bennett said it really well on Twitter when he said that hey, he likened it to, if I remember the quote, like football players as essentially consultants. Working for a business, right? Because the contracts are not guaranteed.
No.
They could cut you at any minute, any moment, any time. So his message was, any of you young cats, if you want to get that brand your ass. Just ball out. That's what he said. Just ball out. As long as you ball out, brand yourself as much as you want, because that money ain't guaranteed coming from the team, those contracts. Because Mark Schlereth once famously said many times that contracts in the NFL are they're like toilet tissue paper. You write on the toilet tissue paper because they can turn up at any time. So my take. So basically, what I guess I'm trying to say is, I get where Booger was coming from. I just think it's very, very dangerous to lump Black athletes, especially successful ones, as selfish branding and not wanting to perfect their craft, because what that attracts a certain crowd out there. That certain crowd that uses 4 letters that starts with an M and ends with an A, right? And they just going to say, see, this Black guy agrees with us. See, and that's bullshit. We all know that's bullshit. Booger knows it's bullshit. Yeah. So so that's my take on. I don't know. I know you saw that too. And I know you got some things to say, but let me just give you the floor.
So here's the exact quote, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Oftentimes, young players, especially, and I'm going to go ahead, especially young African American players, because they make up 70% of the league. They come into this league and ask themselves the wrong thing. They come into the league saying, "How can I be a?" They come into the league saying not, "How can I be a better player?" They don't say, "How can I be a better teammate?" They don't say, "How can I be a better person?" How can I get my organization over the hump? Here's what they come in saying. They come in saying, "How can I build my brand better? How can I build my social media following better? How can I work out on Instagram and show everybody that I'm ready to go, but when I get into the game, I don't perform?" That was his quote. And the dangerous aspect of that, right, becomes, wait a minute, let me see, it's just, okay, but is this more from, okay, he put his own spin on blah, blah, blah. Dwayne Haskins, unfortunately, is not the first case that I've seen like this, and it won't be the last. And it bothers me because a lot of it is the young African-American player. They come in and they don't take this as a business. It's still a game to them. I saw a quarterback do it. I saw Jamarcus Russell do it. The number 1 pick in the draft. They gave him $40 million, and he threw it down the damn drain because he didn't take it seriously. Now, right? This is where it gets dicey. Now, Scott, there's one thing that we both have in common, right? We're both African-American men, both Black men, right?
Yep.
And we're Black men of a particular age. And it doesn't necessarily have to be black men of our age, because it's probably the same thing that we both had to tell our sons to some degree and in some way or manner while growing up. And it's the same thing probably had to be told to our fathers. Same thing had to probably be told to their fathers, that we have to work twice as hard and be twice as good in order to be
100% to their 75%.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just something to that effect, right?
Yeah.
So with that said, and I don't necessarily want to speak for Booger McFarland, but what he said is kind of in that ilk, right? Now, the thing that's problematic for me is that, unfortunately, what you can't do is lump in the mistakes of one guy and say it speaks for the entire group of people, because unfortunately, they don't do that for white players.
Right.
They don't say that about the likes of Johnny Manziel. They didn't say that about Ben Roethlisberger when he went out and did what he did. You know, the several things, from the motorcycle accident to the rape.
Yep.
You know,
Twice.
Twice, right?
Twice.
So
yeah.
When it's a white player, they don't necessarily put it down on the entire race, and you really don't hear white people saying that about white players.
And nor should they. They shouldn't.
And nor should they.
They shouldn't put it on the race. Yeah.
The same way that you shouldn't put it on, but I understand the whole pressure of, dude, we need to do better, right?
Right.
Now, the whole focusing on the brand thing, I'm not going to tell players not to focus on the brand either, because I'm in complete agreement with you too on that, right? Because the average span of an NFL career is 3 to 4 years, right?
Correct.
So
if they're lucky,
take advantage of it. Yeah, if you're lucky, take advantage of it when you have the opportunity. But the thing is, in order for that brand to be completely effective, dude, you have to be good. So you have to perform on the field in order for your off the brand field to work. That's the only way that works. And even if you want to focus on that, if you focus too much on that and you're not paying attention to being better on the field, to Booger McFarland's point, then yes, your off the field brand is going to fail too.
Yeah.
So I get what he's saying, man, but what you can't do is lump all players of a particular race in together. But again, to his point, we still do Robert Griffin, Randy Moss, who's on the stage with him.
Yep.
Chris
Russell.
Carter,
Yep.
who's had issues in his past.
Yep.
Jamarcus Russell, Vince Young. There are a lot of black players.
Especially Vince Young, yeah.
Now, it happens to be a lot of black players because, like McFarland said, the league is made up of 75% African Americans.
Correct.
So that's another reason why that number is probably going to be a little bit more disparaging. But yeah, dude, there's a way to make that point without making it that way, Booger. But yeah. I understand where he was coming from.
I get where he's going. Yeah, I agree. I get where he's going. I said on Twitter, soon after he said that, I'm like, I think the first thing I said was, surely he did not mean every black player, but as it pertains to Jamarcus Russell, Bob Griffin, I call him Bob Griffin, and now this kid, Dwayne Haskins, where's the lie? I said that. That's why I said, soon as after Booger said that. Now, that didn't count. Again, that's not lumping all those brothers, every last one of those brothers, you know, whether Booger meant to or not, that's where they came off as, lumping them all in. There are certain cases, and there are certain cases, but still it's unfair to just say, because again, that's a dangerous, what he's doing as a black man himself, a proud one, a good brother, saying those things because he's giving fodder to the MAGA crowd. I call it, to the MAGA crowd, the white nationalists out there who assume those things about us anyway, whether it's believed or not. And that just gives more fuel to cats like them. Yeah. And that's where it becomes very, very, very dangerous. And that's all I was coming on from that.
No, agreed. And I just was upset because a lot of people who had comments were focusing on the wrong thing. There was a lot of discussion about whether or not a player should focus on his brand because they're white players that do it. Yes, correct.
Yes.
But they're also the same players that they named that focus on their brands, like the Tom Brady's. Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
Patrick Mahomes. All of these guys that that you see outside of football doing things, that focus. Gronk. There are a lot of players that do this, but you know what? They play well on the field.
They ball out. They ball out. That's the main.
They ball out, and they keep, for the most part, they keep their nose clean.
Yeah.
Off the field too. So it's a combination of things that you have to look at when you talk about those things. And it's about playing well on the field, making good decisions off the field, which lead to you having a great brand. You can't do the other two and hope that third one is right. Yes, focus on your brand. I'm not saying don't do that, but do the other work too.
And to your point, you mentioned Patrick Mahomes as a biracial brother. Dak Prescott before he got hurt.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson. Many other brothers who are balling out.
Yeah.
On brand. I mean, hell, it's obviously it can be done. We all know this. We got all the different points in the world. Just focus, just ball out and show out. Ball out, show out. That's all you got to do. So I'm just hoping that this young man, Dwayne Haskins, gets his act together. Again, he's too young, he's too talented not to get it done. I think this will be a wake-up call for him. At least it better be.
I hope so.
So hopefully, let's just hope and pray that he gets his act together. We'll close this out on this podcast on this, man. Going from the NFL, all that talk about the NFL with the playoffs, all that shit about Dwayne Haskins and Booger McFarland, to the college football playoff preview. Okay, this is as lopsided as you can get, man. These two matchups: Alabama versus Notre Dame, Ohio State versus Clemson, which is the ultimate grudge match. But Ohio State's not near as good as they were last year, and they should have lost to Northwestern. Would have if they didn't go to the running game. Because Justin Fields, I love him as a pro prospect. He just didn't have it against Northwestern. So, with all that being said, Alabama should beat Notre Dame by 3 touchdowns. They should, unless even Notre Dame decides to take the air out the ball with running the ball, which they're capable of doing. Alabama's not good on defense as they have been in the past. Hell, the SEC looked like the Big 12 this year. So if as long as Notre Dame takes advantage of that, pound the rock, have Ian Book like pick your spots with play action passing and be mistake free, unlike as they were against Clemson in the ACC championship game, it will be competitive. But again, Alabama should beat them by, I said 3 touchdowns earlier. That's probably not fair. I'll probably say like 2 touchdowns because Alabama's just better than Notre Dame. They just are. As far as the Clemson game, again, Clemson is about as good, if not better than they were last year. And Ohio State is not near as good defensively as they were last year. That defense carried them last year.
Yeah.
And they don't have it. They don't have Kuda. Jeff Okuda's not walking through that door.
Nope.
Your forward plays for your beloved Washington team is probably going to be defensive rookie of the year. It's not walking through that door.
Chase Young ain't there. Yeah.
And a bunch of other cats aren't there. So Clemson should now. What may keep this close is that Ohio State is probably looking at Dabo Swinney as bulletin board fodder. With him saying he ranked them as 11, which I don't see a problem with. Those his rankings. But anyway, being that Clemson has owned Ohio State recently, let's just be real, they own them. And maybe Ohio State's like enough and puts up a good fight against them, makes it competitive. But Clemson's better than they are. They should be in by 10 points. So it should be what's going to come down to, again, Alabama, Clemson, part 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm in complete agreement with you, right? Like you said, to your point, Clemson's better than what they were last year. Wait a minute. I don't know if I want to say that yet, right? They're playing well.
Yeah.
But Ohio State ain't the Ohio State from last year.
No.
So there's a huge fall off. And Ohio State beat them last year in a close one. I don't think that game will be close.
Clemson, because will beat them,
Yeah. Now, I see how that Notre Dame Alabama game could be very similar to the who is that? The Notre Dame Clemson game, the first one,
Yeah.
and potentially be a shootout.
Mm-hmm.
That's if Notre Dame don't come in and Notre Dame it up. Right?
Right.
But I expect them to.
Mm-hmm.
With that said, I am in agreement with you on that too. I truly believe that the line is 20.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Alabama could do that.
Yeah.
I think Alabama could do that. Now, the thing is, the Alabama will probably end up giving up 20, 28 points. But yeah, I think they put up like 48 on them too. Yeah. So yeah, it's gonna like you said, it's gonna end up being Alabama Clemson again. And I've said it before on this show, Alabama has not won the title on even years. It's 2020.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see them winning it again this year. I got Clemson walking out with the dub. So yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, got the what you call the trends.
Yeah.
If you will, the trends. So it should be interesting. I think Clemson has a chip on their shoulder after getting their asses kicked by LSU. I mean, no one was beating LSU last year. That's a once in a lifetime, ultimate lightning in the bottle type deal. Yeah. LSU had a cooking on all levels last year.
All cylinders
offensively,
last year.
Defensively, plus special teams.
Mm-hmm.
No one was beating them last year. No one was beating them last year. But Clemson still, if I know Dabo Swinney as well as I have from afar and seeing how he's at, he's going to have those boys fired up.
Yeah.
He's going to have them fired up against Ohio State. He's going to have them really fired up against Alabama. You know, so to acquit themselves better on the national stage in the national championship. So it wouldn't shock me if Clemson comes on top with that too. All right, so that's all I got, man. Should we wrap this shit up or what?
I'll say this. It's just been rather interesting on the HBCU front.
Yes.
You know, recently, you had the early signing days a couple of weeks ago. We talked about Dion in Jackson State, but he made a comment recently on Twitter that kind of blew up the HBCU world on social media, where he made a comment where he was actually pandering bowl committees to potentially bring in Jackson State as a bowl team.
I saw that
in the 21-22 season.
I saw that.
And the reaction on that has been entertaining. So much so that it led to Jackson State actually blocking an HBCU media outlet on Twitter because of their comments about one Deion Sanders and Jackson State in that program. Now, they were just being critical of his comments. They didn't say any lies. They didn't say anything negative about him. They were just being critical about his comments, and they blocked him. I'm gonna need for these schools. I'm not just gonna go ahead and say Jackson State. I'm gonna go towards any program that's looking to do stuff like this because someone is critical of what you're doing. And I'm gonna need you to think twice because that's embarrassing. All they were doing was being critical of his comments.
That's just too petty.
It's very petty. It is petty.
No need that.
But we don't have anything else to talk about because we gotta wait a week. Well, actually, we gotta wait a week before conference play starts in college basketball, and that's if the college basketball season continues through. And then we gotta wait another 2 months before the football season starts. If that goes through,
right?
And if that goes through completely, so we don't have a lot to talk about right now. So we're hedging on a lot of things that shouldn't get as much attention as it's probably getting right now. So yeah.
And on that note, it's a wrap. Thank y'all for tuning into the Klown. Please check my man out, Dwayne Nash, on the Yard HBCU Sports. Talking too fast. We wrestle all things HBCU sports, as well as
Oregoni Bamas.
There you go. Sleazy Radio every Tuesday night on Facebook Live with his crew and his great work on herosports.com. That's about FCS athletics as it pertains to HBCUs especially. As for me, please check out the merch. Get the merch. CafePress.com. Search for the Clown Time Sports. One word. No dash, no hyphens, no spaces. It's in the description below. please just hit that subscribe button right there. I would really appreciate it. And, you know, all will be good. So until next time, stay inside, y'all, because the pandemic is worsening. Wear a mask if you go out. Wash your hands if you go out. Stay safe. And last but not least, take care. Be safe. Peace.
Happy New Year. Happy Kwanzaa.
And Happy New Year. Happy Kwanzaa. All that good stuff. Stay safe, y'all.